Hey everyone. So this episode essentially puts a bow on the Egghead arc, and I'm not gonna lie, aside from a few bittersweet moments I'll talk about, I do like how this episode did feel like the start of a fresh new day, and like it's one of those this is one of those episodes where these kind of resets after an arc aren't new. We've had them so many times before after so many other heavier, impactful arcs, but here it feels especially reinvigorating after having come off such a harsh emotional beatdown from Egghead. Like Egghead was for something that you would say was supposed to be a setup arc, Egghead was packed with so many emotional moments and reveals that it made you that just getting this episode, it felt like just one of the biggest palate cleansers on the planet. And of course, and mind you, the emotional roller coaster is going to start again with Elbaf, but for now, it's nice to just be able to take a breath with this episode, even in some of the more high emotional moments. Um, on that note, I do on that note as well. I do love how this episode opens with Vivi berating Morgans. Like that is one of my new favorite running jokes, and it will never not be funny to me. Like seeing Vivi just get all high and mighty with this big bird character, like saying you're basically a liar, a cheat, and a schemer. I don't like you, kind of thing. Like again, it's so funny. It's so funny seeing Vivi just stick up for Luffy and the crew and the crew despite not technically being a part of it anymore. But still, it's kind of wholesome. Even if, let's be honest, Morgan's probably doesn't give a shit. Um, with that said, though, let's talk about one of the bigger moments in this episode, where Kizaru gets his Fujitora moment, where you see Sakazuki in typical fashion of being the jackass that he is, demanding a full report, and Kizaru simply responds with the question, "Tell me, Sakazuki, have you ever had to kill your best friend?" Showing again just those words in itself, that for as stoic as Kizaru tried to be throughout this whole thing, throughout every single moment of this whole experience, just broke the man. And honestly, who can blame him, really? Like if I was in Kizaru's position, I would have crashed out long ago. I wouldn't have even like followed the order. I'd have said, "Fuck you all. If you want to kill my best friend, then you do it yourself. But before that, you're gonna have to go through me, like first." And yeah, Kizaru calling Sakazuki out, telling him that if he doubts him or thinks he did a sloppy job, then come over here yourself and see for yourself. Again, even going so far as to call him a damn brat. And again, and a couple notes. First, I want to talk the voice actor for Kizaru, Ryotaro, and Ryotaro's performance as Kizaru, and I definitely want to tone in on Ryotaro's performance as Kizaru in this episode, because I had to rewatch that scene of Kizaru just yelling his heart out at Sakazuki a couple times, because I this is one of those weird scenes where I liked the presentation, but something felt a little off as well. At least when I first watched it, and at first I thought it was that it felt a little. And at first, my initial thought was that the scene felt a little too restrained, like he's not putting his whole like chest, like I guess you could say chest, into it. But no, it's older. Like Ryotaro definitely put everything he had into this scene. I think for me, what might have at least felt like this scene came short is all in the direction and choosing to go with more of a sorrowful anger approach that conveys how much Kizaru is emotionally broken, versus obviously in the manga, where I think where we imagine just Kizaru just letting loose with his anger, just going full on, "What the fuck are you," like just full on screaming match. Whereas here, the anime goes for arguably a bit more of a subtle approach, and I think it's that weird disconnect between performance and animation that was a little off for me. But the more I watched it, I still do like it in a way. Um, and in saying that, one tiny change I like with this scene is how the anime how the anime handles like the apology from Sakazuki. It like because in the manga it shows Sakazuki's apology over a transmission bubble, but in the anime it actually cuts back to Sakazuki in his office when he apologizes. And again, for as small a change as it is, I do like how it does in this one moment show a little bit more of an emotional vulnerability side to Sakazuki. Like for as much as as we say he's an asshole, and believe me, he does come across as that. I think this scene does in itself show he generally values the very few friendships he has. And honestly, looking back on this scene does beg me to ask the question, who have you lost, Sakazuki? Because I get the feeling when like a lot of what Kizaru said in that scene, I wouldn't be surprised if it might have like touched a bit of a nerve with Sakazuki. Like he himself might even that potentially even this man has known some manner of loss. It's just a question of who that person is the real question, I think, and that's kind of like it's one of those scenes that like obviously a lot of it is focused on Kizaru and his emotional trump emotion you could say in the moment. But yeah, this is one of those scenes that does beg the question: who is it that you've lost, Sakazuki? I really want to know. But okay, moving on from that. Moving on to the next part of this episode, though, is we get a flashback to 2 weeks before everything happened, where we get the reveal that Vegapunk had been fully aware of York's duplicity, and that everything he had done leading up to the government invading the island were one part precautionary measures, but also meant as a way to draw York out of hiding in order for York to to full on reveal what she had done. But even more than that, we learned Vegapunk never gave, like, one of the big things I guess we do learn with this though is we learned that it was never Vegapunk that gave the government the Mother Flame. It was York who did that, which again, in retrospect, is kind of the most obvious reveal of the entire arc, but it really goes to show how duplicitous York was from the very beginning. And I do like Vegapunk's reasoning upon learning all this, that of all the satellites he created, the one he regrets creating the most is York. Like, York was the one he never should have created. Like, there's just, like, when you look at the fact that York represents Vegapunk's greed, there is just far too many variables in creating a personification of that greed, but especially when it comes to a scientist's greed. Like, a scientist's greed, especially a scientist like Vegapunk, that the greed can grow to astronomical levels, to the point of, again, becoming, in York's case, becoming full-on evil. So it's no wonder that the York had betrayed Vegapunk in the way she did. Yet I also love how, through accepting one's own fate, Vegapunk kind of acknowledges he brought all this upon himself and was very much willing to pay for his mistakes with his life, yet also doing everything he could to take advantage of the situation at hand, and that even despite knowing he was going to die, he never really gave up. And while it is a bit extreme, what better way to do that than memory wipe? Like, even after being reminded of what they erased, he still kept the information very basically limited, just for the fact of screwing over the government and knowing that he only knew so, like, he pretended to only know so much, I guess you could say. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe from Blue Sky, and let's Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, and just shove it around, guys. Dark Knight of Midnight signing off. Later, everyone.